You have to cast the sexiest, most delicious, long meat, elephant trunk dingling possessing man you know to play Nightwing.
And not even just sexy, like pretty. Like men questioning their sexuality type of pretty, you know what I mean?
Nobody is hot enough to play Nightwing. All of your fancasts suck.
All the qualifications you really need: ripped, 6-foot god of a man with flowing locks and a chiseled jawline.
I did not know people cared this much. I didn't participate in fan casting because I think it's kind of impossible and kind of pointless, but I see the fun that comes with it. Either way, we gotta talk about this whole Nightwing fan casting situation going on. So on TikTok, and I assume through osmosis other social media sites, there's been this huge stir about the impossible task of casting Dick Grayson in the DCU. Why Dick Grayson specifically? Sex. I think the whole Robin fandom gained a huge following through TikTok, and it's the kind of fandom that doesn't care about any other comic book character other than the Bat family. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because anyone introduced to comics will hopefully support the industry and its creatives for longer. But while Nightwing has been known to be a good looking guy in the past, I feel like his sexualization has been shot through the fucking roof recently. The most we used to get was a running joke about Nightwing having the best butt in the universe, but now people are expecting him to be sculpted from goddamn marble and having 0 flaws. Like, yeah, I know Dan Mora can draw a beautiful Nightwing, but he can make any character beautiful. I'm glad we all agree that there is just no one hot enough to play Nightwing. Tears emoji. No one's hot enough to play Nightwing. Shelf it. Need Nightwing to be the hottest and the sexiest casting ever in the DCU. The actor needs to be fucking delicious. At James Gunn. Does anyone remember when Dick Grayson was just a pretty cool character in the comics? He was known for being a bright spin-off yet independent counterpart to Batman. Now he's a character that so many people project their boyfriend fantasies on, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why people can't come to a consensus on who would be the perfect actor to play Nightwing. Like, whoa, you're telling me if everyone's idealizing this fictional character to their specific standards, no one's gonna agree? Who would have thunk? It just seems like every new fan's first impression of Nightwing comes from the social media echo chamber where he only has 2 traits, being the hottest guy alive and that he used to be Robin. That's it. And considering that every female character in comics has been over-sexualized to death at some point, I know some people might say that this is fair and this was a long time coming or blah 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 blah, but Dick Grayson isn't even majestically sexy or beautiful in universe like Angel or Storm or even Bruce Wayne. Dick's bright personality and his charm is like half his pull. I don't know where this human centipede train of thought came from with these new fans everywhere. And I'm just gonna clarify, of course it's awesome to see someone hot on screen. It's Hollywood. The average looking person in the movie, they're either funny or ugly. But I'm just saying, let's chillax for a second and focus on the non-cosplay traits of a character, and let's dial back on trying to make Dick Grayson the most physically attractive man ever for no reason. Alright, gatekeep warning, I'm gonna gatekeep here for a bit, which sounds weird to say because I'm not even into the whole Robin fandom stuff, but it is so annoying to me to see people get so worked up about details about the character that did not matter before this whole TikTok Nightwing dick ride. You watched Young Justice because you didn't want to be a fake Nightwing fan. I get that, but don't go around spouting how the actor for Nightwing has to be non-white or tan because his Romani in the comics, according to a TikTok comment that you read, who got their information from, let's see, oh, another TikTok comment. In the comics, and I know this is obvious for people who have been lifelong fans or have been fans for a while, I'm obviously not talking to you, but Dick Grayson has been white passing, for lack of a better term, for the majority of his existence. Writer Devin Grayson introduced Dick's Romani's heritage as a one-off thing in 2001, fucking 60 years after the character was created. Before that, the Grayson family and long legacy stemmed entirely from England. And not only that, but most readers acknowledge that she wrote this race insert in a weird stereotypical way that indulges in making him more sexually quote-unquote exotic. Like, oh, Dick Grayson is from a circus, so make him Romani. Wow, okay. Also, this entire run was largely ignored by future writers because it has a lot of bad stuff, like Nightwing getting SA'd and Devin Grayson not acknowledging that it was considered SA until like 10 years later. Anyway, we also had the Court of Our story, which basically disregarded whatever Devin Grayson tried to do and strongly tied Dick's ancestry to Gotham's founding families who were Unsurprisingly, all white. Now in the current canon, Dick does have Romani ancestry somewhat because the writers have mentioned it, but his ties with the culture or how it impacted his life has never ever been referenced. I feel like writers only mention it now because it was a fact spread by these comic book fact accounts on social media, so it's just endless closed loop where they have to mention it, otherwise they'd be considered disregarding a character's ethnic roots. Like Nightwing Leaping into the Light, written by Tom Taylor, great fucking book, but there is this one part where a woman who knew Dick's father sees Dick and she's like, that beautiful Romani smile. That's a weird line to write. Oh, Andy, look at you all grown up. That beautiful Korean smile. So I'm not denying the character's heritage. In fact, I think it's pretty cool that they've introduced Romani ancestry into one of DC's most popular characters. I'm just saying I find it a bit ridiculous when I read a lot of comments saying, actually the actor for Dick Grayson should be Romani and anything else will be considered whitewashing. I don't care what race the actor's gonna be, but let's not pretend you're some fucking A-grade Nightwing fan for trying to make everyone feel racist for suggesting white or non-Romani actors for a character who has been depicted as white for the majority of his comic book appearances and for the majority of his media adaptations. Like, oh wow, you social justice warrior, you are so superior to everyone else. I now deem you special because your Nightwing fan art depicts Dick Grayson as a brown/tan guy and you feel the need to tell everyone because that's how he should be depicted. Fuck you, and I know you would be unbearable to talk to in real life. Oh my god, was that too much? I'm done. I know some people might say these people don't exist. Yeah, they do if you look at these Nightwing Fancast posts, which I have cursed myself to for some reason. I just hate it when people try to spout nonsense to act holier than everyone else. It drives me fucking insane. But Dr. Doom and Damian Wayne on the other hand. However, there have been some Nightwing fancasts who sit in the if only they were younger boat that TikTok seems to agree with. First one. Young Tom Welling. Listen, if we're going by pure attractiveness, I don't understand how you can get a man hotter than Smallville's Clark Kent. That man is an 11 out of 10. But what I don't understand is people ignoring the fact that he's fucking 6'3". During my TikTok rabbit hole, it seemed like an under 6 foot height was a prerequisite used to shut down other fan casts, but now it's okay? Imagine a Nightwing doing flips and shit, landing next to Batman, and he just towers over him. Second one I've seen is a younger Brenton Thwaites. I think everyone agrees that he was perfect casting in a not so perfect show. But I also saw some people comment, he has brown hair. Ew, no thanks. To those people, I suggest you click on this video up here. I really hope it helps. And also bonus points because my man's an Aussie. Third one I've seen is a younger Aaron Taylor Johnson. I mean, yeah, I guess. The guy's extremely good looking, let's get that out of the way. But even when he was young, I feel like he had a certain edge to him and I think he'd be better off as a Jason Todd. Which doesn't matter because the chances of him joining another superhero franchise is fucking zero. But let's get to the meat of this discussion. Which current fan cast would be the best actor to play Nightwing in the DCU? So here we have the TikTok Nightwing fancast bracket, populated with names I've seen suggested more than once on TikTok and Reddit and other places on the internet. Alright, let's reveal the first contestant in our bracket. It is Asher Angel. In case you don't recognize the name, he is the actor who portrayed one half of Shazam in the DCEU, and yes, I mean the more mature half of Shazam. He's definitely one of the more popular fan casts I've seen for Dick Grayson, and let's be honest, it's only because comic book movie fans, they don't know any other actors outside of Marvel and DC movies. Asher Angel did tweet a gif of Nightwing a while ago to stir up some hype for this potential casting, but I think people have been kinda neutral on it. He's also buffed up since the Shazam movies, and currently he's 22 years old, which is a pretty sweet spot for an actor for Nightwing. However, the one thing that holds back Mr. Angel for me as a potential candidate for the Nightwing role in the DCU is his TikTok. I'm not exactly sure what the deal is with his secret TikTok, but it seems like the produce of someone who thinks very, highly of themselves, let's say. Which is fine, but you know that thing where girls are like, guys can be really hot on TikTok until you remember that they had to rehearse this TikTok and film this TikTok. I'm not saying I'm a girl, I'm just saying that this isn't the kind of content I want to see from an actor potentially playing Dick Grayson, or any superhero for that matter. Anyways, going up against Asher Angel, we have Dylan O'Brien, probably most notable for the Maze Runner movies and Teen Wolf, neither of which I have seen. Now, the protruding trait that deters Mr. O'Brien from getting the Dick Grayson role in the DCU is his age. He is currently 33 years old. Now, you might be thinking, well, 33 is not that old, right? Well, considering that would be older than David Cornsweet, who's playing Superman, That is something I cannot accept. I mean, I know they can change the age in universe, but still, it would still look weird seeing Dick Grayson and Superman looking the same age. So TikToker Asher Angel proceeds to the next round. Dylan O'Brien, you would have been a superb pick for Tim Drake 10 to 15 years ago. Alright, the next player for this TikTok Nightwing fan cast bracket is Logan Lerman. Fun fact, when I was growing up, I would get Logan Lerman and Dylan O'Brien's faces mixed up in my head. Is that racist? Probably. Most people know him from the Percy Jackson movies. I loved him in Perks of Being a Wallflower. I think he's a great actor. I remember when people were pushing for him to be the new Spider-Man of the MCU. However, like his twin, he is also 33 years old, and having a Nightwing older than Superman doesn't sit right with me. But let's see how he does against our next actor, Josh Houston. Definitely not as famous as Mr. Lerman, but he is a fellow Aussie. Listen, there is no denying that he is a majestic looking fellow. Plus, he is racially ambiguous, which studios bust a fucking nut over nowadays. He was in the Doom prequel series that no one saw, he was in a background role in Thor Love and Thunder, and has been in a few other things. So going off that, I'm pretty sure TikTok just shares this guy's name around without having seen anything that this guy's been in. However, I am saying that as if that's not the fucking case for any fan casting nowadays. I'm low-key feeling that this guy is a bit too good looking, you know? I mean, the guy was apparently scouted to be a model while working as a bartender. Whoa! I feel like Dick is more of a boy next door kind of attractive, you know? Regardless, at age 28, I do believe he would be a better fit for Dick Grayson over Logan Lerman. Logan, I'm sorry, I love your work, man, okay? Alright, let's cross the board and see our next candidate for this bracket. It is Timothy Chalamet. Or is it Timothy Chalamet? Or Timothy Chalamet? I don't know. This one's obviously a very polarizing fan cast. And Timothy Chalamet, he's kind of like Tom Holland in a way. He is just thrown into every possible fan casting ever. And before we get into the logistics of whether this would even work or not, I'm just gonna say, he would fucking kill it. I think a lot of people forget that this guy, he is a top tier actor, and his name alone will bring insane credibility to the DCU. Now, do I think he would ever take on a superhero movie role like this? Unless his career ends up in a dumpster fire, probably not. And in a Variety interview, Chalamet did say that Leonardo DiCaprio did give him some advice, and it was no hard drugs, no superhero movies, and no women over the age of 25. Okay, I made the last bit up. I'm gonna assume DiCaprio learned from the choices of Tobey Maguire, who's one of his best friends in real life. But Chalamet did say that he would consider doing a superhero movie if the director was great and if the script was great. This is kind of like the Pedro Pascal, Reed Richards thing though. If he was cast as Dick Grayson, would you see Dick Grayson or would you see Timothy Chalamet in a costume? Also, a lot of people hate this fan cast.
The world is going to crap and you're fan casting Timothy Chalamet as Nightwing? That is my last straw.
The next Dick Grayson candidate we have here is Louis Partridge. Which of these skinny white guys will make it out on top? Let's find out. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen either of the Enola Holmes movies, so I don't know what this guy's acting skills are like. Looks wise, I'd say that this guy's definitely got that Cillian Murphy bone structure, you know? He's good looking, but it looks like there's something evil in him, like something dark, so I feel like I might skew him towards Jason Todd instead. This one's definitely the toughest so far. We should also consider that Louis is 22 and Timothy is 29, so by my previous logic, Timothy is a bit too old to play Nightwing. But if we are going by my logic, I'm gonna say that Louis Partridge's life is good enough as it is because he gets to date Olivia Rodrigo. Timothy Chalamet moves on. I mean, the guy's also generational talent, like come on. The next contestant we have for the TikTok Nightwing fancast bracket is Wolfgang Novogratz. Okay, I don't actually know how to pronounce his last name, but Novogratz sounds wrong. But speaking of the name though, Wolfgang Novogratz? That might be the only name in existence to compete with a name like Dick Grayson. Now, if you think that this name sounds familiar to you, it's because the internet had this full petition to make him the new Superman before David Collinsworth was cast. Did anyone actually look at the man's filmography and acting skills? Probably not, but I can't deny that the guy does look like a Superman. But enough of Superman, this isn't the TikTok Superman fancast bracket, this is the Nightwing fancast bracket. And Wolfgang as Nightwing? He kind of looks more of a Shazam to me. I mean, bro's face is a cube, and I mean that in the best possible way, like fucking heavy jawline and shit. And I feel like Dick Grayson just needs a touch of femininity, whatever the fuck. Again, I don't know how his acting skills are though. I've seen some comments on the internet saying that his acting skills aren't great, but I haven't seen it for myself, so I can't judge. Honestly, it just depends who is up against. So the final contender for the TikTok Nightwing fan casting bracket is... Shut the fuck up and just wait because they'll cast someone way better than anyone you could ever think of. Interesting. Wolfgang, you're a good looking dude, you got a badass name, I hope to see you in a future film, but I think shut the fuck up and just wait because they'll cast someone way better than anyone you could ever think of has you edged out here just by a little bit. So shut the fuck up and just wait because they'll cast someone way better than anyone you could ever think of moves on to the next round. Now we have our two former Lightning boys facing off one another in the semi-final, Asher Angel and Josh Houston. Now it's a bit hard to compare these two in the case of who would be the better Nightwing because neither of them are here to audition right in front of me. Instead, I think the only fair way to see who comes out on top is to compare TikTok thirst traps. Alright, first let's look at Josh Houston holding a chicken. We love a guy who knows how to look after an animal, showing some physique, got the fit, and not trying too hard, just ended it with a thumbs up. That's pretty chill. Alright, now let's look at one of Asher Angel's TikTok thirst traps.
Now she running from me, I told her stay with it. I'm about to feel it for the ass right now. Just love me down.
What the fuck did I just watch? Josh Houston, congrats mate, you've made it to the grand final of the TikTok Nightwing fan cast bracket. I promise you this is better than a Loki. In our next semi-final we got Oscar nominee Timothée Chalamet up against Shut the Fuck Up and Just Wait because they'll cast someone better than anyone you could ever think of. I have heard that the latter sometimes goes by potato. I will not be calling them that though. Like I said before, getting Timothée Chalamet invested and passionate about a role in the DCU would bring insane credibility for DC Studios. And also, like I said before, generational talent, come on. And I feel like TikTok sometimes just focuses on the visuals too much rather than the skill, and this is the skill we want, guys. But in this case, I think Shut the Fuck Up and Just Wait because they'll cast someone way better than anyone you could ever think of has him beat. Alright, here we have the grand final of the TikTok Nightwing fan cast bracket. Dun, dun, dun. We have Josh Houston up against Shut the Fuck Up and Just Wait because they'll cast someone way better than anyone you could ever think of. Maybe next time, Joshy, Shut the Fuck Up and Just Wait because they'll cast someone way better than anyone you could ever think of wins! Thanks for joining us on the TikTok Nightwing Fancast bracket, aka the No One Will Ever Be Happy bracket. Well, in case you couldn't tell, I did put a lot of thought into who would come out the victor there, so you know, you're welcome. To summarize, first, stop projecting your fantasies onto Dick Grayson. He is a fictional character and you will never be satisfied. Second, stop saying that he can only be played by a Romani actor. That makes zero sense. He can play by whoever the fuck, I don't care. And three, let's all take a moment to realize that his next appearance in film will be as a puppet. Yeah, I bet you forgot about that one. And speaking of former Robins, I did make a video about why Red Hood is kinda useless and he doesn't actually make any changes, just like the Punisher. I made a video about that up here. Check it out if you haven't already. Check out my discussion channel, Andy ate my remote. Check out my second channel for random vlogs and videos, and check out my letterbox, and I'll see you next week. See you.